What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp Essentials tutorial. So a few weeks ago I created a tutorial teaching you how to do some basic material quantification in SketchUp. Now I wanted to go through a couple different advanced methods that you can use to kind of manage materials in your model and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Alright, so some of you may not know this, but actually in my day job this is kind of what I do. I work for a commercial contractor doing estimating. So I do a lot of quantification of models in a whole bunch of different formats, anywhere from two-dimensional in on-screen takeoff to 3D takeoff from SketchUp and Revit. So I've worked with this a little bit, and so I just wanted to go through a couple strategies that I've used in the past to get quantities out of a model. So real quick important note when you're doing this, and this is super important, when you're working with quantities, save a new model to do that work in. So don't use your design model to do this because you're going to be moving a lot of materials around, a lot of layers around, and a design model and a quantification model aren't necessarily set up the same way. So save a version of this as building QTO or something like that. Just make sure you save a new version so you don't lose important work in your base design model. So first of all, this model is a model that I downloaded from the 3D warehouse. It's called Apartment Above a Garage by Hillary. But we're going to go through and we're going to do some basic quantification based on this model. So you got to remember that when you're doing estimating, the biggest focus is always to make sure that you have everything. So you want to make sure that you're not doubled up on anything, so you're not carrying areas twice, but also that you have everything included. And so the strategies that we're going to use here are kind of built based on that. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So first of all, if you're coming in here and you're pulling quantities, in this case, like let's say we wanted to figure out how much of this wood siding there is, for example. That way we can put it into an estimate and figure out how much it costs. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. And the first is just to use SketchUp's materials in here just like this. And what SketchUp has is it has a built-in way of selecting all of the different material types in a model. So you can right click and you can come in here and you can say select all with same material, just like this. And what that'll do is that'll come in here and that'll select all of the wood siding material, all of the faces that have this material in the model. You can see how these are all kind of shaded just like this. And so not only will it select all of these objects, but if you come up here in the entity info, it'll give you the area just like this. So it'll give you the area of whatever you have selected. So, and there are some other built-in functions that I don't recommend that you use. The first is to come in here, and so the one specifically I'm talking about is the area functions. So if you come in here and you want to get the area of this selection, it'll give you the area of this selection. That's fine. You can also come in here and it'll give you the area of everything on the current layer, or it'll come in here and it'll get you the area of this material in your model. And so you're probably thinking, okay, great, that's probably the easiest way to do this, but it's really not. And the reason for that is, like if I come in here, for example, and I draw just a face, just like this, and I talked about this in the previous video a little bit, but this face has a front side and a back side, just like this. That's why in every entity info, this face has two boxes right here. Well, if I come in here and let's say that I want to do like a brick material, just like this. So you can see how when I came in here and I applied this, it only applies this to one side. So if I right click on this and I say area of material, it gives me 42 square feet. And that's great. But if I come in here and I apply this to the back side as well, and then I say area of material, you see how it gives me 85 feet? The reason it's giving me 85 feet is because it's picking up the front face and the back face in your model just like this. And so that can get really scary in a model because basically you can double up on materials really easily by doing this and get a whole bunch of not accurate information and stuff like that. So what we do instead is we come in here and we use select all with same material just like this. And so like let's say for example that I had two of these boxes. And I came in here, I right clicked and I said select all with same material. You can see how when I select this, the entity info is giving me the area of two faces, just like this. So even though there's material on the front side and the back side, we're only getting the front side or the area once on this material, where if I was to come in here and I said area of material like this, you can see how it's double. It's 170 square feet. So that's why we don't want to use the select or the right click area material function. So we don't want to use that in SketchUp, because unless your model is drawn exactly right, you can start having some problems really fast. So that's the first part of this, is how we're gonna figure this stuff out. So you can use the materials that are in SketchUp. You could also come in here, and what I've done is I've created materials just like this. So sometimes I want my own custom takeoff type stuff. So I would come in here and I would call this like wood siding or something like that. So I'd create a material, I'd call it wood siding, and then we could just come in here and we could just make a color just like this. And so once you have a wood siding material, you could come in here and you could color up the faces where the wood siding is going to go, just like this. So this is really good if you just absolutely need to know where this material type is in your model. So sometimes you'll get models back, because a lot of the time what happens, especially if you're a general contractor and you're working with an architect, is you'll get a model that an architect's created that's really big, and it's got a whole bunch of different stuff in here, and they're trying to draw really fast. And so a lot of the time you don't necessarily know where they've put that material. There's a lot of leftover material and stuff like that kind of on the back faces. So sometimes it's easier to create your own material type and paint the faces yourself. So it just kind of depends on what state the model that you get is in. But then you can come in here and you can save these materials into like a material section or something like that. And then you can kind of group them as well. So like for example, if I was to come in here, and what I could do is when I right click to save this, I could create a folder, and I could call this takeoff materials. And then I could save my material type in that folder just like this. And then now if I come in here and I say open a collection, you can select this folder, click select folder, and now all the materials in that folder will show up as takeoff materials in here. So if I was to come in here and create another one of these for, let's say, metal panel, and I came in here, I colored this green, I could save that in my takeoff materials folder. And then now if I go down to takeoff materials, all the materials that are in that folder are going to show up right here. So you can create kind of your own library of materials and stuff like that in here. You know, that can get pretty high level. I'm going to go ahead and take this back to the stock material that was in there. So that's the other way you can do this. You can either use the materials that are already in here or create your own and color up a model. So that's a couple ways to get the materials into your model. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple different ways to kind of group everything by material so we can start pulling quantities out of it. So there's two different ways that we can do this. You can either do this using layers, or you can do this using the outliner. So I've always used the outliner in the past just because I like to be able to group my stuff, but we'll show you both ways. So what we're going to do here in your model is you're going to right click on this material, and we're going to click select all with same material, just like we did before. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put all of these in a group. So you've got all these different materials selected for your wood siding. So you're going to right click and you're going to click make group, just like this. And when you put that, and when you make that a group, that's going to put all of the material in here that has wood siding on it in its own group, just like this. So you can see how now I can kind of move it up away from my model to see kind of where everything is. But all of that geometry now is in its own group. And you can see how it added a little group in here in the outliner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call this wood siding. So now what I have is I have a group in here for wood siding. So now I can hide it. So I can hide everything that has the wood siding material on there, or I could come in here and I could hide everything else. You'd probably have to put the rest of your geometry in a group just like this. But what you can do now is it's real easy to come in here. You can just go inside this group you can select everything with that material and you can pull that area just like this. So, and you can do that again for, like, let's say, select all with same material. We'll right click and we'll make it a group. And then for this group, we'll call this concrete wall. So now I can do the same thing. I can come in here and I can hide this to see where the concrete wall was, or I can also go inside this group, select everything, and I can see that I have 701 square feet of this material. And the nice thing about the way that we're doing this is it's real easy to move this stuff away from your model. Just move it straight up and down on the blue axis just to see exactly where that material is located, and then you can just undo it. So you can move it down to see where all of the faces are, and then you can move it back real quick just like that. So that's a really good way to come in here and basically see where the different material types are in your model. And then the way this works is as you go through here and you do this, what you can do is you can start hiding these. So, like for example, once I've got my concrete wall taken off, I can hide it. Once I have my wood siding taken off, I can hide that as well. And when I do that, I can see what's left that I haven't quantified yet. So like these objects, for example, these are also going to be kind of my wood. I could either call these like a wood trim, or I could also just move those into my wood siding group. But if I go ahead and select all of these with the material and I put those in a group, and I call that wood trim, then I can right click and I can hide those objects just like this. And in this way you can fly around and you can see what's left in your exterior skin that you haven't quantified yet. So you can see how you don't have these undersides here quite quantified yet. You don't have the windows done quite yet. So that's what I like about doing this way, is it's real easy to come in here and hide or unhide your objects in order to double check and make sure that you've got everything. So, and then for these windows, probably what I would do, because windows can be a little bit frustrating in the sense that, like if I was to come in here and try to pull this glass material, right, from these two objects, it's not going to work exactly right because you've got all this extra area in here that's this kind of white material that's also going to be glass. And if you just take off the glass area in here and leave the white area off, then you're going to leave out some quantity. So generally what I end up doing with something like this is I end up actually drawing a face across this and then just applying like a glass material or something like that, or creating my own material down here. So like probably what I would do is I would draw material across these faces just like this. And it's nice when these windows are flush because it's a lot easier. But now I would come in here and I would select all of the glass material that I created. I would put those in a group. And then same thing, you can kind of move those up and away from your model just to kind of see where all your glass is. And I would just right click on that and I would call this glass or windows. And then now I can double click in here, select all of those faces and see how much glass area I have in here. So that way then you can come in here and you can hide these windows so that these are just in here by themselves and stuff like that. So what you can do is you can start hiding things that are taken off, and you can tell as you fly around that you're still missing these door areas. And you're still missing these garage door areas, basically. So the garage doors, I do kind of the same thing. I draw across this face, and I would add some material in here. In this case, we'll just call it a red material. We'll group those. Whoops. And we'll call them garage doors. Just like that. So again, I can come in here and see that I have 135 square feet of garage door in here just like this. And then I can come in here and I can hide these objects using the outliner as well. So now you can tell you've pretty much got the entire exterior skin of your building, not including the roof, taken off just by doing this. So that's definitely one way that you can do this, and that's my kind of preferred way for taking objects off in SketchUp, partially because a lot of the time what I'll do is I'll actually create images. So I'll take a screenshot like this where I've moved this up, and then I'll put it in a program like PowerPoint or something like that, and that way I can really easily show these are the areas where I have wood siding, just like this. And that gets really important when you start dealing with the bigger projects. So that's definitely one way to do this. And one thing I probably should have noted sooner is when you start doing stuff like this, save a new version of your model. You do not want to do this in the base version of your model, because you can start basically once you start adding all this stuff in here, you can kind of break some of your faces and stuff like that in a way that you don't necessarily want. So usually I'm an advocate for having a separate model for quantification than I am for like design and stuff like that. So that's one way to do this. That's the way that I do it, but there are other ways to do this as well. One other way to do this is to do this with layers instead of with the outliner and with groups. All right, so the other way to do this is instead of using these groups, so I came in here and I kind of exploded all the groups I just created. What you can do instead is you can also use the layers to get quantities really quickly. So the way that you're going to do that is you're going to put each material type on its own layer. So like for example, if I come in here and I create a layer called wood siding, just like this, what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to select all the faces with this same material, just like we did before. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to click this drop down, and we're going to put these all on the wood siding layer. So basically what I can do now is I can come in here and I can use this option. Sorry, I kind of got to drag this over here so you guys can see it. I'm going to use this option that says color by layer. And so basically what that's going to let me do is that's going to let me come in here and it'll basically color up everything on this wood siding layer, this kind of green color. So now what you can do is you can fly around here and you can see that's where the wood siding is. And then you can uncheck that to go back to your initial look, just like this. And so what you would do is you would come in here and you would create a layer for each material. So concrete walls would be another one. And you basically come in here and you would right click, select all with this kind of concrete material, and you would put those on the concrete walls layer using your entity info. And then come in here and you could do color by layer again, and you can see that your concrete walls are going to be in here as this kind of purple material. So the nice thing about doing this way is this gives you a great visibility piece. So it's a lot easier when you're working with quantities to color things up with this color just like this, because otherwise if I don't have color by layer on, then it's really hard to kind of tell, okay, well this is the wood, but this is the wood trim, and you know when I get all the wood siding in here, does it have the wood trim in here, yes or no? It gets kind of complicated. So the nice thing about this is it's very easy to see, okay, everything in the wood siding is this green color. Everything in the concrete is going to be this color down here. And the other nice thing about that is you can come in here and you can turn, so if you switch your current layer to wood siding, then you can turn off your base layer, and then you can come in here and look and see, okay, I definitely do not have all of these different wall types quantified in here, or I don't have my whole exterior quantified. So it's really easy to come in here and check and see, okay, obviously I'm missing some stuff, because otherwise this would be a pretty much filled in box. So, and like I said before, that's the big thing when you're doing an estimate, is making sure that you have everything. So that's why pretty much everything I do has the ability to turn things on and off, just like this. So it's real easy to come in here and see what you don't have. So in this case, by making my default layer white, you can tell those objects don't have a quantity associated with them. So now if I come in here and I do select all with same material for the glass, I'll just call this windows. I can put all those on the windows layer just like this. And you can just do a right click, select all with same material, and you can see the area of all the windows in your model as well. And really, you can kind of group these together actually. So you could come in here and you could do these by layer so that you have the coloring, but you could also do them with groups, so you can kind of move them up and away like I did before. So you just kind of have to figure out what workflow works for you. You know, I mean, as you work with this, you'll start figuring out what's easier, what works for you, that kind of thing. And then to get the quantities out of here, I haven't done a whole lot with extensions or anything like that. I know there are some extensions out there that'll actually export quantities to Excel. I know there's also some smart building plugins and stuff like that, as well as Estimator for SketchUp. Estimator for SketchUp actually allows you to do a full estimate inside SketchUp. I haven't really had a chance to play around with that yet. But so there's a few different things that you can do in order to do that. Honestly, I've just been coming in here, and once I get everything kind of set, then I just manually pull the quantities out and I just type them into a spreadsheet. But you can definitely find some extensions that'll do that a little faster. A lot of them are kind of paid extensions, which is part of the reason I haven't had a chance to really mess around with them yet. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video here. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Are you doing quantification in SketchUp? Are there any tips or tricks that you use? I'd love to hear what you guys are doing with this as well. I know it's kind of something that doesn't necessarily get done with SketchUp all the time, but it's definitely a very powerful way to get information out of your models. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps, even if it's only $1 a month. That just helps me keep bringing you great SketchUp content. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.